of New York City children from grades 4 to grades 12 suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, as a result of the events on 9/11. Another 10% suffered related conditions like a fear of public spaces. 2 years ago, on the 5th anniversary of the attacks, I had the assignment as a reporter to speak with people who witnessed 9/11. Many of them grew emotional when recounting their experiences and spoke about their memories in vivid detail. Also, this past September, I was here writing for the Jakarta Post, and I did a story about an Indonesian man who was visiting New York on September 11, 2001, and told his story about his experience witnessing it. And it was very traumatic for him as well, even though he was not American. As reporters, though, I think this is our responsibility too, to show the voices, the experiences, even the fears of those who witnessed events or are part of the public experience of these events. Their voices are important too. 1 year ago, I was in Manila, reporting about the relationship between Muslims and Christians in the capital of the Philippines. As you probably know, there is an ongoing conflict in Mindanao, in the south of the country, between the state government and Muslim separatist forces. Each year, thousands of refugees flee the violence in the south to start a new life in Manila. In one part of the city, called Quiapo, one of the oldest Catholic churches in the country and one of the most popular mosques in the city sit side by side. The communities, both Christian and Muslim, have managed to live in peace with one another. It's not perfect, but it's also far from the violence that's taking place in the south. And here I'd like to pause for a moment and show some photographs and a radio report I did from Manila, so you can get a sense of the story I'm talking about. And I apologize, it's not the broadcast version, so some of the Tagalog that they're speaking hasn't been dubbed into English, but you'll understand it fine. So you can just play. Inside the Quiapo Church is a statue called the Black Nazarene. A glass box protects the dark-skinned figure. 4 toes of the statue's right foot emerge from the glass, where a man presses his infant's hands against them in reverence, whispering softly.
The Black Nazarene is a miraculous image. No? Many people who came here and asked for providence, guidance, they were all answered prayers.
Father Alvin Fuyon, assistant parish priest at Quiapo Church, says that the church, which was founded in 1588, can attract up to 10,000 visitors on Fridays, the day of the Black Nazarene. 14 masses are offered from early morning until the evening. Just outside the church, rows of fortune tellers line the square. Next to them, wooden carts squeezed together, crammed with merchandise, stacks of broad green leaves, bottles of coconut oil, and the scent of burning candles and fresh sampaguita flowers. Though the scene is festive, Quiapo has seen its share of violence. In 1971, a bombing interrupted a rally for candidates opposing then-dictator Ferdinand Marcos. The incident killed 10. Soon afterwards, Marcos declared martial law, which continued for a decade. Arturo Cuevas is a vendor outside the church. He was born in Quiapo and says that he remembers the bombing in 1971. But lately, things have changed, he says. More people are coming for the vibrant markets.
Really, Quiapo is a economic for the Filipino.
Cuevas' booth sells rosary beads and statues of the Nazarene. A small prayer book goes for 10 pesos, or roughly 20 cents.
You see, Catholic Church is a all means of life. Province, tourists, vendors, every kind of people are coming in Quiapo.
And more are coming every day. blocks away, Malaido stands before a wall of brightly colored clothing. He motions to the Islamic shirts, robes, and dresses that he sells. The 36-year-old says he used to be a teacher in Mindanao, but the situation was too violent, forcing him to leave and start a business here.
Kinaman ang buhay mo, kinaman ang buhay sa probinsya, kaya lang sa probinsya is parang gulo ba, gulo. Yung hindi peace ba, hindi kailangan, we need peace. Kaya we are here, we are establishing business here in Manila.
Just across the street from his shop, the gates open to the Golden Mosque. A high, white wall surrounds the grounds of the mosque, and a guard is stationed outside. The paint is fading, but the golden shell still shimmers in the afternoon light. The mosque was built in the 1970s by the Marcos administration in anticipation of a visit by Libyan leader Omar Gaddafi. At the time, the city's Muslim community was just beginning to grow. Recently, the Golden Mosque has become a focal point for Muslims in the city. Ibrahim Mamenta teaches classes at the mosque. The 43-year-old originally came from Mindanao in 1980 to study at the university. He stayed on to raise his family in the city.
Actually, dito sa area na to, mostly majority Christians. Dati. Nagsimula na nung mga 80s na dumadami ng Muslim rito na mga nagtitinda.
The Philippines is, after Indonesia, the second highest recipient of development and military aid from the U.S. in the region. Earlier this month, the State Department renewed its pledge to support the country's military campaign, specifically mentioning Mindanao. The number of U.S. Marines operating in the area peaked at 5,700 in October of last year, according to a report released by the nonprofit group Focus on the Global South.
Dito kasi umiwas sa gera, umiwas sa buludor para mamuhay dito ng tahimik. Pero ganun pa rin eh. Nandito rin yung police, kung doon militar, dito police.
Abdul Aslani is a 27-year-old youth organizer from Maari City. He says that many of the Muslim youth that he works with throughout the city have experienced some form of harassment. He mentions a new law passed by the government in July that expands the policing powers for fighting terrorism.
Kumbaga sa ano, yung buhay mo dito, as a Muslim, yung buhay mo dito sa NCR, hindi ka safe eh. Hindi ka safe eh, di ba? Maaaring one of this day, ikaw ma-pick up ng police, ikaw yung ano nila.
Inside the mosque, men lie down on the cool floor, escaping the stifling heat of the city. Outside, children play. They dash between the mosque walls and the squatters' huts that border the fence. Ibrahim Mamenta sees the increasing businesses as a possible way for Muslims and Christians to live together. But the way is often fraught with misunderstandings.
Yan ang kauna-unahang itinuro ni Propeta Muhammad sa kanyang mga companions ng panahon niya na yung pakikipagsalamuha kahit kanino ay dapat ito ihawakan mabuti.
While the community waits for a more peaceful future, the haggling, the movement, the exchange of goods and ideas that make this small neighborhood thrive seem destined to grow. For Free Speech Radio News, I'm Dorian Marina.